Hello and welcome to Heritage Weekend Catch Up, and actually it's a big thank you programme. First of all, I'd like to introduce the stars of the event, Michael Ninnmey and Phil Hadwen.
We wouldn't say stars, would we, Sunshine? We'd say
No.
little glistening comets, perhaps.
I think you're stars. It's one heck of a huge event.
It is actually, yeah. It did expand beyond what we were expecting, did it not? We thought 30 or so.
Well, I don't know. I'm already thinking of bigger and better in 2016.
Oh, right.
So maybe more of that later.
Okay.
Yes, I was going to ask that question. But absolutely magnificent.
It was.
53 events?
It was, yes. Multiplied a bit because within the hub we had, I'm not sure, was it about 12 or 13 additional events representing different community groups and different interests. So yeah, it was pretty wide actually. It was a wide offer of things and events, and it seemed to go well, didn't it? Weather was kind to us.
We were very fortunate again with the weather, and the weather always helps because it gets people out. And if you've got a little bit of a wait at some of the sites, then that's fair enough.
Yes, but I don't know how you organise so much, and how long did it take you to organise everything?
Well, we're very fortunate in the fact that we have tremendous support from the local community. It probably helps a little that we've been here for some time, so people know of us.
Only 40 years.
But it is a case of just a youngster.
Yeah, I'm just a youngster, me.
But you know, it is sometimes not calling in favours, but encouraging people to show off Felixstowe at its best, and I feel that's what we tried to do, and by and large it went pretty well.
And really, if you look at the events, most of them are carried by the property or the organisation. For instance, you at Felixstowe TV, you carried your event, didn't you? We provided you with bunting and opening, and we then promoted it. But the actual delivery, we're very reliant upon, obviously, those who live in historic houses, the historic houses themselves, churches particularly, because that works in extraordinarily well with the cycle ride, because they're there, and it gives them an opportunity to show perhaps that their church has got something in addition. I mean, two of the very popular things were the walk to the top of the tower, both at St. John's and at St. Mary's, and the people kept coming back to do.
Isn't that lovely?
So we need to do that for FTV at some point, actually.
Right.
Lovely view from both.
Oh, it sounds smashing.
So we'll have a look to do that.
But it went so well. I mean, there was no talk of, difficulties. You had things so well.
Well, we do try very hard to get that right. I mean, being a school teacher, of course, or ex-school teacher, one is used to doing organising being very important. And I mean, we couldn't possibly have done this without it being well organised. But the support that we have is the major factor. I mean, we can only do so much. It is left to other people. And one of the things we've probably got to review at some stage is if I want it to, well, we both want it to be bigger and better in a couple of years' time, because every other year we do a big one.
We do a big one,
You know, how do we do that? But our own resources are getting very stretched. We can only do so much ourselves. So again, we have to look at expanding maybe our committee base or something of that nature.
Right.
I mean,
and
we're
funding?
Pardon?
Was there a lot of funding needed? Was there a lot of
well,
money?
yes, we're very fortunate that the Felixstowe Society funds the overall event anyway, if there's any shortfall. But we have £1,000 from Nick Barber, who's one of our local councillors, his contingency fund or whatever they call it.
Oh, right.
And also Robert Scrimger from Suffolk Coastal
does a lot to help.
Provides a little bit of funding, and also is very supportive and does one or two things behind the scenes. Couple that with the Felixstowe Tourist Information Centre, which is a real gem. And,
absolutely, that helped a lot.
There's a little bit of sadness that it may soon be departing. But
Really?
maybe that's another story at another time.
It probably is.
But all those things come together, and I suppose there are lots of people in Felixstowe who love to show off their town. We're not really...
It's not promoted enough.
But we're not really... We're slightly reticent in wanting to do that as an organisation within the town. We're not really very forthcoming in singing our own praises, really, because Felixstowe's an absolutely fabulous town, and its architecture is probably second to none in a town of this size.
You're
We have so much
absolutely
to offer.
right. It's beautiful. We at Felixstowe Television always try and promote how wonderful Felixstowe is. It's amazing.
This
And
is
I
an
just-
awful lot out there.
There
And
is.
this is just touching the surface, really.
But it's so
when you look
kind
at
that you've produced a poster, and we've got a copy of it, I think, to show our viewers. Thanking everyone. Look, isn't that lovely? Thank you for all your help.
Yeah, you're quite
this
free to
year.
copy that and distribute it if you would like to.
I
because
think that's a lovely
this is our
thought.
third year, as you know, and this is now really our iconic front cover. And what we do is we run the changes around the Martello Towers, because we've got 4.5 of them left out of the 8 that we originally had.
You've got more than most.
We
We
have
have
actually,
You have,
and they're all
haven't you?
quite unique in their own way, which is rather lovely.
Oh, and
you
you're
know.
the expert on that.
Oh,
aren't you?
no, expert has got a definition. I can't remember what it is, but it
I know the
involves, it's quite insulting. So I continue to learn, because there's so much to learn.
You know
on
more than I
Martellos.
do. Can I
Well,
put it
perhaps.
that way?
But what I was going to say, you were asking one event or one part of the thing that we would reflect upon.
Yeah.
And I think what we were not surprised about was the runaway success of the buses on the Saturday and Sunday, particularly Ermintrude on the Sunday. Now, she was filled to standing room only on all of her trips, and possibly if funding was available, or somebody who's got a bus who would like to show it off, we could undoubtedly do with perhaps a couple of buses.
I think probably in a couple of years' time, our next big one, I think possibly we may well look to have 2 buses on the Saturday and 2 on the Sunday. I think we've probably got to have that, because people...
The numbers.
We're rather caught as organisers in the fact that you run the buses for people to go between the sites, but there are so many people who just love travelling on the buses.
And they do the whole
per
trip.
se, but that's all they want to do. So when you go by bus stops, because you're packed out and you're passing people waiting, you have that problem.
Yeah.
So maybe one of the things we'll do in a couple of years' time is
Or work out a different way.
is to have maybe just one bus each day that just does a run round all the sites without stopping.
Yeah.
A nice
As a
view of
trip.
Felixstowe as a trip in itself, half-an-hour bus ride.
And say conducted tour.
And then
Yes,
do
that's
that.
and do
brilliant
another one
idea.
purely for the
Picking up and
punters
dropping.
to pick up and drop.
I
Yeah.
absolutely have to say, I
Yeah.
think whoever thought of the bus was genius. That was a real success,
It was an inheritance
wasn't it?
from the Tourist Information Office, really, in that the open-top bus has always been popular. And I think in the first year we were fortunate. We were unfortunate. We wanted to, but the organisation of it changed hands, didn't it? And it was complete chaos. You couldn't get hold.
Really?
So we ended up being supported by the Ipswich Transport Museum.
Who have been
Good.
excellent.
And
So
they've been
they're
superb.
very, very supportive.
Absolutely
They are
superb.
quite outstanding. I mean, we just sort of praise them for one day for their help.
Yeah.
We must say that their venue in the garage near St Augustine's they're open lots of weekends and during the summer, and it's well worth a visit.
Yeah.
So we ought to return the compliment
Yeah.
and praise them for
We do.
their support, but also hope that some of the people who came to us will actually go and see what they have in their wonderful garage.
Yeah.
All the other stuff. And for the Sunday, Ermintrude, that was hired from Tony Buckland.
That's right.
And on both days, we had conductor Pat, my colleague on Grumps on Felixstowe Radio. And what is remarkable is Pat used to be a bus conductor and then a bus driver.
Oh.
So he has a wealth of knowledge about buses. But Ermintrude, I think, was the star, wasn't she?
Oh, very much so. As I
She
said,
really
she
was.
was
She was
totally
brilliant.
full. We had
Standing room
we
only.
had a couple of complaints that
Yes,
unfortunately
we did.
couldn't put people on. I believe there was a group of children on the Sunday morning who had come down from somewhere to actually just travel on the bus, and they didn't get on it because it was so full all the time, and they went away disappointed. But again, we were
so
not
sorry,
aware.
kids. We are sorry about
We
that.
were not aware of just how popular. So maybe that is something we've got to think about.
I mean,
booking.
perhaps what we could do is book half of the seats and have the others for. We need to rethink that. That's something we will be putting
A
some
work
mind
in
to.
progress, because
Well,
you
we
don't
would
know, do you? Till
We do
things
have a
happen.
debrief at which we're having in November with Robert Scrimger, the county
District.
Suffolk Coastal Conservation,
And we need
and
the,
also
the museum and the land guard. we
the
need.
tourist information people. So we'll get together and chew over what went well and what we can improve and take
And
it
just
from there.
keep doing it year on year. I mean, as I said to Phil when we came in, I got a call from the national organisation yesterday wanting to get a feedback from us as to what went well out of our 53 events and what the numbers were.
Yeah.
And they said that initial indication shows that probably there was a great increase in people taking part and enjoying themselves on Heritage Open Day, and they believe the number of attendees rose from 2 million to 3. So any organisation that can deliver a 50% in take-up in footfall, perhaps some of our supermarkets would be pleased to get their marketing skills working. But you need a lot of commitment from a lot of people, and we were very fortunate that we received that. I mean, commercial organisations such as the Fish Dish, Mrs. Simpson, they provided at no cost in one case, I think at a very low cost in another, a space they could have been making money from. And that really is the type of community engagement that we seek to encourage. So thank both of those organisations, Mrs. Simpson and the Fish Dish.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
And then, of course, there are all the venues, aren't there? And the people, I mean, the speakers we've had, we go to St John's Church, and I mean, they're quite happy to allow us to speak without any cost, and minimal cost at the Sailing Club and our other venues. So we've been very, very fortunate that we do get, real support from local communities.
I mean, if you bring up the second poster, and you've got a whole raft of talks there.
There we go.
Which is St John's. You did a thing down at the Alex, didn't you, at the restaurant?
Yes,
and they were very generous, weren't they?
I mean, because we were offering free coffee and cakes for all those who attended. So we had to be very careful that we didn't really, we didn't publicise that as such, because, you can only have 70, and that was a review of the life down at the Alex, which was actually super. It was a lovely, lovely event.
Wow.
And people told their stories, personal memories, and Pat and Roger Cordy, of course, who were heavily involved for many, many years. It was always at a Cordy's restaurant, and I mean, they were quite lovely, and in actual fact, we probably could have gone a little longer, but with the pressing needs of their business, we kept it to an hour and a half. But I mean, it was super, so
they're very generous of them.
It is.
Oh, yeah, very much.
And then we had a presentation on Broadsea Radar, which is a key historic event here that we really need to put our backs behind. And Mary gave a presentation at St Nicholas Church down at the ferry, which is where, just across the river from where it all took place. That was very well attended. We had an audience with Suzanne Hawkes, which was very illuminating.
It was a lovely, lovely evening.
That was great, and that was at another little church, St Edmund's Church. And then we had a presentation at the Felixstowe Ferry at the Golf Club from Mike Thomas, who's an authority on golf and the history of and the site. That was very, very well done. And then we finished off with one of my favourites, the residents or the owners of Martello U down at Felixstowe Ferry. And that was at the Sailing Club, again, where it is. So we started in Walton, our oldest community. We ended up down at the ferry, which is a unique community all of its own.
Yeah.
you know, which is lovely.
And as I said, we're always looking to improve. And I mean,
Any suggestions?
if there's any people, I mean, hopefully next year's will be a nicely close-knit, quiet one.
Clustered.
But the big one will be 2016.
But there will be one next year.
Yes, it'll be probably concentrating on the hub, and funding will be later, unless there's anybody out watching this who would like to be a sponsor, particularly of the buses. I think the buses are a key to its success.
It sounds like
and whoever those children were who tried to get on Ermintrude, we would really try to make preservation or provision next year to get them on. You know, one way or another.
That would be nice.
And I was just going to say that, you know, obviously for a couple of years' time, people who would be prepared to open their houses, I already had a list of ideas of places and things I want to do or think we should be doing. Because one of the things you don't want to do is just do the same old thing.
No, we've got to
year
keep
out.
changing. We have.
Is there more? I mean, 53 events is a lot.
I think we can get up probably to 60 next time.
I mean,
Really?
actually, of the 53 we had, I think there were, 8 no-shows who we had penciled in and for one reason or other couldn't come forward. Some of those were new build and they couldn't get staff to volunteer. And it depends whether organisations want to share, you know, their new creations, etc. I mean, you want to share FTV, Felixstowe Radio sat up in an historic building. It depends on the organisations and the people that are running them and whatever. We view this not only as an opportunity for folk to see things, but for the myriad of organisations that we have in our town to tell people that they're there for people to join and do, you know. Folk who say, oh, I can't find anything to do. Well, it's not for want of people trying. There's a huge amount to do in the town.
I mean, when we look forward to, as I said, the next big one in 2016, it just so happens that it will be Bloomfields of Walton's their centenary. And they were wonderfully good with the Smock Mill and the Lloyd's Bank building, which is
fascinating,
just tremendous. So I mean, you know, they've already said that they want to actually do something for that year. So hopefully that will all be incorporated in 2016.
It's going to be a magnificent year, actually.
It could well be.
So again, it's you know,
it can chime with anniversaries, and there are a lot. I mean, next year we've got Nelson's come along anniversary, so we're looking to see his engagement here, because his wife, as you know, lived in Ipswich, or perhaps she didn't, but they've knocked her house down there. But that's next year. Let's crack on and do a little bit of, you wanted to know a bit about Radio Caroline.
Well, I did.
Now, that was an extra icing on the cake,
we must thank a young man, in fact, who I used to teach. I say young man, maybe he's not quite so young now, but Brian Nichols, who was a real star.
He did.
And, you know, all credit to him for
holding out to have a bigger venue,
doing
actually.
that. But also the fact is, a lot of the people that we involve are so reliable that they come to us and they say, can we? And we say, yes, you can.
And they get on with it.
And they go on and do it.
And
you don't have to keep chasing them up. And he was a real star in the fact his organisation. And it was to be just Radio Caroline, which was at the Fish Dish. And again, it was wonderfully attended. But through his contacts, we got another section down at Pirate Radio. Down at Mrs. Simpson's tea room, and that was just again 2 little extras that suddenly came along. So there is so. I mean, Felixstowe's got this fabulous architecture, but it's also got this wonderful history. I mean, 2016 will be the anniversary, or certainly 1936. So whatever it works out at, 60, 36? No,
90.
30,
no,
I can't work it out.
80
years from Mrs. Simpson for her divorce.
Oh, of course,
So she stayed in Felixstowe. So
it's just an amazing town.
Lots of things have happened here of national and international significance.
It has to be a little hot spot. This can't
Well,
happen anywhere else in quite the same way.
I think I can speak for Phil when I say I feel that we don't promote our town and the resort perhaps in the right way. You know, we're not a kiss me quit type gathering. There's a huge amount of military history here. There's a huge amount of ongoing military history over the last 1,800 years. I mean, it's not in a package. But I suppose I spent most of my time at St Mary's Hub, which is something new which we kicked off last year. And I thought we didn't have many folk come through because you were doing, and on the Saturday we did bacon butties, so that occupied us quite a lot. We had an awful lot of bacon butties go out the door. But we, because Martello P is closed, we had Coast Watch who came and helped us out, and they insisted everybody wore one of our lovely stickers.
Right.
And we found, come the Saturday tot-op, we'd had over 500 people who had actually been through the hub. And you don't realise it, do you? If you've got something like 16 events or displays, and you've got a couple at each, you don't realise that sort of 32 just keep turning over. And they did. And I suppose the one thing that came out of that was the memorials or memorabilia that Orwell and Deben has. And what was said by one of the group who was presenting that is they really do need a venue where they could have probably had something like 8 tables. I think did they have 3 with us?
Yes, 3.
They really need an opportunity somewhere in the town to be able to do the whole spread of everything they've got. So if there's anybody listening who would like to make their hall or whatever available at some convenient, significant point, either the anniversary of the Orwell opening or the Deben or whatever, that would be lovely. I mean, it might be nice because the Deben's now staying in existence, isn't it?
Exactly.
Might be nice to go back in there.
And if I can just do a slight tangent move in the fact that unfortunately when Orwell had its last night, when hundreds of people piled in and 1 or 2 people spoilt it by setting off the fire alarms, they called the fire brigade and they had to close it down. We're having an Orwell Memories evening at the Salvation Army Church on the 4th of November in the evening, and we are inviting along anybody who wants to come along and share their memories of the school so that we can actually sort of draw a line under it, because it's now it's not even a heap of rubble anymore. I think they're almost clearing the side as well. So it would be nice not to have the memories of that rather disappointing evening, but to finish it off on some lovely funny memories of things that happened in the school and personal things. So we invite people along on the 4th of November at Salvation Army Church at 7:04 start, and
well, I hope we'll note that, will we? We can maybe put that on.
That would be very good. That'd be lovely. Yes.
4th of November. What's time?
7:30.
7:30 start.
Salvation Army Church.
Salvation Army Church. All welcome.
Indeed, indeed. So that's that. So you know, I mean, it's lovely that we have these venues, and you know, hopefully there will be more of people who want to come forward. I mean, I can't thank enough the 4 private residents that were open.
Yes, very good.
Mike and Anne Deacon, who opened Cobbler Cottage in Walton, which was a tremendous success. They had, I think, they had well over 100 people on the one day they were open. Oh yes, and several were turned away because.
Right. Should we have the 3rd poster up? Have we got pictures on?
I don't know. Are there pictures of the? Not on that one. I don't.
No. There we go. Not on that one. Because isn't that amazing that people were so generous?
I mean, exactly the same way. St George's Terrace. Again, on the 2 days, we had well over 200 people going through there, and you can only have 5 or 6 at a time because they're quite small entrances, and then we had very good support for the Cotman Cottages in Brook Lane. That was open on the Sunday, and again that was on the go really just about all day, apart from the odd hour which we gave the owner a little bit of a chance to catch her breath. So we must thank Doreen Stone very much for that. And the fourth one, I'm trying to think like mad, what the fourth property was that we had.
It was down at Church Lane.
No, it wasn't. It was the one in near St John's, and it was the Barnards
yes.
who opened their Victorian house. And again, lots of people were really pleased to go. Again, that was open for a couple of days, and we're talking 200 no, sorry, they only opened on the Saturday, but we had well over 100 people for that.
Goodness.
So if you actually think about it, all the 4 private properties probably pulled in close on 600 people.
But
in
if we add
That's
to that,
amazing.
and if you'd extended the time, we probably would have had more, because people. So you know, we must really thank those people for opening those properties, because it really
wonderful.
is lovely that we can do that, and they were all very historic. And you know, we've got another 500 or so in the town that would be lovely to get into.
Yeah.
but if we add to that, Q Tower, which unfortunately this time around was the only Martello property that could be accessed, was opened only for the Sunday afternoon, and there were 2 sessions, if you like, and Mary and John probably had somewhere around 200 in those 2 sessions.
No.
And they just kept turning up and turning up, and we made the groups bigger and bigger, but it was lovely. And there's a lovely shot that's in the flyer with you penned a thank you to all the readers of the flyer as to what happened on this weekend. There was a lovely shot of Martello too, Pick Q there, showing both of them, one with each group. So it was a unique little photograph.
And
Thank you, Mary and John. Yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But I just wondered, have you any idea of the figures of how many people were
That's
in?
something
Well,
you and I have got to do.
As soon as we finish this meeting, we're going to sit down and actually work that one through, because the national organisers want that number. But last time, we were 28th.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that if we could get into the top 20,
we'll be really
pleased.
Wow.
Wouldn't that be fabulous?
But
you see, from our point of view, on coverage of it, on the Monday in the Evening Star, there was a double-page spread of Ipswich. There was a full page on Woodbridge, and yet, in fact, Felixstowe
got nothing at all.
More than those 2 put together. And there was absolutely nothing.
Well, I'm afraid, sadly, Felixstowe is at the end of a peninsula, and we no longer get very much coverage by the print media. It's a shame.
You can see that.
It's a shame.
So it will be nice, a feather in our cap, if we can actually get into the top.
But can I tell you the least popular walk that we had?
Oh yes, please do.
It was one that I conducted from the Orwell to the Devon.
That's why it was the least popular.
And the real problem was, and I hadn't looked at the weather forecast, it forecast rain in the morning. So I had one lovely lady turn up from Needham Market. So because we'd advertised it, we did it, because you've got to.
Yeah.
So she and I took off from Landguard, and we got young Ian to give us a presentation at the Flood Memorial on Langer Road.
Oh, right.
Because Ian maintains
Ian
that.
Healy, that is.
Yes, he maintains it on behalf of those who support those who lost folk in the 53 flood. And we went from there, we did both of the Caroline bits and bobs, which was great. And as we got around the head into the dip, the skies opened up, and there we were in the middle of nowhere. We were very fortunate. A couple who have a beach hut happened to be there. They pulled us in, gave us a hot coffee and a whiskey chaser. And then they took us down to Martello U, where I had to give some stuff. And the owners of that gave her her own conducted tour around. So for that one lady, she had a really superb conducted tour.
What a wonderful way to finish. What a wonderful way to finish our programme. And how lovely. You have one person and you spent all that time with that one.
That's what you've got to do.
This is a Felixstowe thing, isn't it, I think. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the weekend. I can't believe how you've got over it so well. You all look very well. I thought you'd both be on your knees.
You need to talk to our wives, I think.
But thank you so much for coming in and updating us. And we'd love to know more. If there's an update or anything you'd like
We'll
to
give
share
you the
with us,
numbers when we know them.
we would love to hear from you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
very much.
Maureen.
Thank
That's
you.
very kind.
And thank you very much for sharing this with us. Goodbye.